Mikel Arteta was confident.
Another good moment for us, consistency, competing against one of the best teams, obviously, in the world, and good test for us to see our level as well.
But Pep Guardiola had a plan.
Win the Premier League on Sunday, we are not going to lose the Premier League on Sunday. So we see the team that we are better than last season there, and we are better and continue a little bit many good things that we have done in these 2 games.
Arteta said something.
Are you confident that he's got the sort of physical capacity to handle someone like Haaland?
He has the physical capacity to handle that as well. He needs the timing, he needs the exposure, he needs the experience.
But it came back to Pep Guardiola's a different man now. Mikel Arteta has learnt a huge lesson. Arsenal versus Manchester City might not have shaped the destiny of the Premier League for this season yet, but it's made one thing very clear. For Mikel Arteta and Arsenal, there are certain players in games against Manchester City that he cannot afford not to start. He left 2 on the bench, Bukayo Saka and Eze. For context, Arteta made the halftime decision to sub off both Noni Madueke and Mikel Merino for Saka and Eze. And immediately in that second half, Arsenal hit another gear. The connection between Saka and Timber was constant. From Saka cutting inside to Timber making overlapping runs, Eze later joined the 3 to form a triangle where Arsenal started making inroads into the City team. But there's a bigger picture here. Arteta almost got caught out by Pep, but at the same time, he learnt a lesson. It's almost extremely rare to ever watch a Manchester City team under Pep Guardiola play football and give up possession. Watching the game even felt like City had less than the 32.8% possession the stats show. We will look at this from 2 angles. From the angle of Arteta, it was a challenge, something he wasn't prepared for. Pep allowed his Arsenal team to have the ball. Think back to last season when Arsenal beat City 5-1. They did it with less ball possession than City, 45% to City's 55%. Or go back to the 2-2 draw at the Etihad earlier that same season. City had an even bigger possession count, 78% to Arsenal's 22%. The point is, Mikel Arteta came into this one with a plan to sit back and look to catch City's team on the break. Instead, Pep flipped the switch and did the opposite to him. Then the challenge became clear, and that's where Arsenal struggled. It shows an immediate problem, and one that could become a future one if Arteta doesn't find solutions. Without players like Saka, Eze and Martin Odegaard, who was injured, Arsenal struggled to break City down. They didn't have a shot or an attempt in the first half until less than 10 minutes to the end of that period. City sat deep. They closed the spaces. Arsenal had the ball, but it was in and around their half. They couldn't penetrate, at least in the first half. But as soon as Eze and Saka entered in the second, the gaps started to appear. Just before we continue though, be sure to hit that subscribe button to Futbol Historia if you haven't yet for more content like this. Still from the Arsenal perspective, this game also showed something about another player for Arteta in 45 minutes. When Mikel Arteta signed Eze, he said something about him a few weeks back.
I think the moment he starts to play, we will see, and how the team will react and what connections will flourish from his interventions, and I'm very confident as well he's playing.
Honestly, at the time this felt like patronising, but after watching the City game, Arteta was right. If Arsenal can get the right connections around him, they will score goals and create chances. It was his ball over the top that set up Martinelli for the equaliser against City in added time, just when it looked like the game was up. I mean, given the context of how tough the game was and how deep it was to almost the end. From the weight of the pass to actually picking out the man, it was sensational. In 45 minutes, he won all his tackles, completed all his long balls, completed 20 passes, and bagged the crucial assist. In the bigger picture, Arsenal will need creativity when they play against teams that sit back. It used to be Odegaard and Saka. Now Arteta's got Eze, and with that performance, he's key. If he can get him fit and involved constantly in the action, he can provide the final passes to create moves. It's the same with Saka. He'd been out for over a month, but as soon as he came in, the team was immediately better. They settled into a rhythm. Suddenly, the connection between himself and Timber was so clear that City struggled. So many runs. In just 45 minutes, he led the game for the most top threat, creating players with a combined 0.43 threat from passes and ball carries. He also ranked 4th highest for the most progressive passes, despite just playing 45 minutes. Now, you'd think with these entering that the guys they replaced had particularly poor first halves. Not exactly the case, at least for one of them. as it has shown another important note for Mikel Arteta. In a first half where Arsenal struggled going forward, Noni Madueke was a positive threat. Down that right flank, he was always looking to attack. Of course, there could have been more with his crosses in terms of end product, but he was again the Arsenal player that looked the most threatening in that first half. Just before the break, he forced Donnarumma into his first big save of the game. Personally, I feel like Arteta could have left him on in the second half, switched him to the left, and brought on Saka to replace Trossard. Still, there's enough reason to believe that Madueke will come good in an Arsenal shirt for Arteta. This game proved it. But also in this game, a growing concern with a big summer signing. Victor Gyokeres. At best, he was decent for Arsenal versus Manchester City. An outlet, but that's as good as it got. It might seem unfair to criticise Gyokeres now, given that he's played only 6 official games in his first season as an Arsenal player, but he's played Liverpool and City in the league. These are the games you'd expect him to at least be impacting with the kind of hype that surrounded his arrival. Instead, at best, he's been able to shield the ball. There's been a lack of proper threat from Gyokeres in these games. In the hypothetical case where Kai Havertz played in that role, there's every reason to believe he'd have been better. That's because the system Arteta plays is built for a centre-forward who can act as a connector between the lines. On multiple occasions in the City game, Martin Zubimendi could be seen gesturing for Gyokeres to drop deep and come closer to the ball, get involved in the play. It's either Mikel Arteta needs to better integrate Gyokeres into how this Arsenal team plays, or Gyokeres needs to offer more. The game, though, wasn't just about Arsenal. If anything, the Manchester City side of this was even more shocking, more revealing. See, when we said Pep Guardiola was a changed man, a different beast, it was no joke. He's evolved into something else, something dark. It's not the Pep Guardiola we used to know. His City team had a possession count of 32.8%, which is the second lowest a Manchester City team has recorded under Pep Guardiola. For context, he's been at the club for 9 years. The lowest was 34.66% in the Champions League against Barcelona in 2016. Immediately it begs the question, why was Pep willing to allow Arsenal to dominate the ball that much? Here's where things get crazy. It wasn't a mistake. It was a preconceived plan. Pep admitted it himself. He's changing. He's now a transition team. Manchester City came to the Emirates to sit back and counter. It still doesn't sound real, but it happened. Jose Mourinho would be scratching his eyes in disbelief if he watched this one. Watching the game against Arsenal, it may have felt strange, but watching Manchester City this season reveals that this was bound to happen, as will other surprises this season. One of Pep Guardiola's biggest strengths has always been his ability to successfully copy success.
You think everyone copy and paste, and for other managers from little details, me included the first.
In his words, the best managers take the best bits out of others. Pep's seen the trend. He understands it now. The Premier League in the next 2 to 3 seasons is going to be dominated by transition teams. Teams that know how to defend and counter with speed. Truth is, Pep's got foresight. We just didn't see it yet. The plan has been in the works even before the season started. Now, you'd watch this and probably wonder why City signed Omar Marmoush. The fact that he's shooting from almost anywhere is already a big indicator that he's not a typical Manchester City player under Pep Guardiola. You know, players that like to hold the ball are patient enough to wait for the opposition's defence to slip up and quickly strike. But Omar Marmoush is the perfect example of a transition player. He didn't play against Arsenal because he was injured, but you just get the feeling that he'd have been devastating in a game like this. The plan from Pep's team was to sit back and wait for the opportunities to counter. Only 9 minutes in, and it looked like it would work to perfection. Haaland scored. But let's pause a bit to see how the goal came about. Haaland was deep in his half. A quick interchange with Reinders, and he sprints into the space. See where he scored the goal against United from the top, in his own half on the counter. This isn't just a one-off. Haaland has always had the pace to be just as deadly on the counter as he is in the penalty area. Now Pep's using both with him. Guess you could call it the Pep effect. And no, this isn't Pep Guardiola this time. It's the other Pep in the City team, Pep Reinders. If he looks familiar, that's because he used to be former Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp's assistant at Liverpool during Klopp's tenure. He's the one who introduced that transition fast break system at Liverpool that Klopp and his team used to full effect against Pep's City all those years back. Stay close and you can see the pattern emerging. Pep knows the future of English football is transition football, knowing how to play effectively on the break and how to quickly get out of the lines. But it's something he doesn't regularly do, something he isn't fully accustomed to. So what does Pep do? Get the man who taught the guy that beat him with this move on his team. Now Pep Linders is one of the assistant coaches at Manchester City. Now we're seeing City willing to sit deep against teams and catch them on the break. In the same game, Pep took something from Arteta, a system. It feels odd saying it happened, but it did. For those wondering who this guy is, he's James French, a set-piece coach. Pep Guardiola's set-piece coach. He was at his corner for the game against Arsenal. Again, for those wondering how this is important, just remember what Arsenal and Mikel Arteta would usually do in set-piece situations. Nicolas Jova time. To rival this, to rival getting caught out by Arsenal's corners, Pep's gone out and gotten his own set-piece coach. Now, unlike Arsenal, City didn't use any long throws or try different tactics directly from corners, like trying to pin the goalie, but City found a way to counter Arsenal's threat from bending set pieces into dangerous areas. You've got to give credit to Pep's new man. But the changes didn't just happen with Pep's technical crew. Back to the guys on the pitch. And at the back, there's enough evidence to suggest again that Pep is changing. Gianluigi Donnarumma.
Going back to Donnarumma, what does he give you that you didn't have?
He's so tall.
Truth is, it goes beyond Donnarumma being so tall and huge for Pep. He's again a big indicator of the change in the City team. The traditional Manchester City team always used a ball-playing goalkeeper. That used to be Ederson with the ability to play insane quarterback-like passes. That isn't Donnarumma though. See guys, Donnarumma is arguably the best goalkeeper in the world right now when it comes to shot stopping, but he's not the best with his feet. That Pep is willing to play without a ball-playing goalkeeper now shows that he's willing to cut out starting from the back with a goalkeeper if it means conceding fewer goals. As good as Ederson was with his feet, the general idea was that he wasn't very good when it came down to making saves. As much as we've talked about the change though, Pep has found a solution in his team to continue with an old trend. The game against Arsenal proved it. From a City perspective, it was a big blow to see Abdulkadir Kusanov go off at half-time. In the first half, he was solid. His speed was insane. It was like Pep was rolling back the years with Kyle Walker in that position. See, it's important to understand why we're mentioning this. For the first time in 4 years, Pep went with the same lineup for 3 straight matches, including the game against Arsenal. Kusanov at right back seems to give his team a balance, deal with offensive threats and have the speed to push up if he has to. Pep's dark now. Just throw it back to the closing minutes against Arsenal. He had no recognised striker after taking off Haaland. His City team sat even deeper and played the type of football better known on the streets as haram football. They were negative, wanted to run down the clock. It almost worked until Arsenal got that late equaliser. Pep has already said to expect games like this from his City team, where they'll sit back and prefer to counter and defend rather than control possession. He's changing. It's the same with Mikel Arteta. The only thing is, the person Mikel Arteta is becoming isn't who you think it is. For years we've always thought he'd become the next Pep, but Mikel Arteta is on something darker, something more evil. Click the next video to find out the dark truth about Mikel Arteta that nobody is noticing.